Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 7 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Ultra Love. Now sadly for us, the blue player, he spawned on the red side of the map and the red player spawned on the... Oh man, they should just rehost. Either way, spawning right here with the blue Protoss pieces on the red side of the map. We have none other than Classic. It's been a little bit since I've last casted a Classic game, so it'll be nice to have a nice update as to where he is currently at. His opponent, though, is somebody I've been featuring over and over and over again because he's been playing in practically everything. He's been playing some very fun StarCraft. We're looking at Shin's main hatchery. But a lot of people actually becoming big fans of Shin over the last few months. Shin actually chose a bit of an interesting time to reach a new high when it comes to skill level. I mean, obviously Shin has been good at the game for a very long time, but I feel like he's playing better StarCraft right now than he's done in many, many years. And this is exactly the time of the year that we, well, don't really have that many tournaments. But he's playing in a lot of the online stuff, and he is winning quite a few entries. This particular series is the finals of the Lilu Cup. So this is a smaller online tournament organized by Saber. And he was nice enough to send me the replays, so I have to find out exactly what ended up happening in this best of 7. That of course does mean though that it does mean that we have the first player to win 4 maps. That'll be the victor. So I hope you get yourself a drink, because we can't be here for a little while indeed, especially in this matchup, and especially featuring Classic. Now Classic, obviously, I mean, his nickname may be a bit obvious, right? But I guess pro gamer nicknames are not always entirely descriptive of their playstyle, but Classic certainly plays a very classic approach to Protoss. Generally speaking, at least, I mean, I haven't seen him much lately, but generally speaking, he likes playing that more passive approach, where you absorb and then eventually you overwhelm with, for example, Skytoss in the later stages of the game. Now, of course, we've also had players like, for example, Innovation. Probably the least innovative Terran player I've ever seen, so... You know, it would be kind of funny if we had a Protoss player named Classic going for the craziest, most hyper-aggressive builds under the sun. But this should just be a... Ooh, okay. Well, I was gonna say Stargate opener, but it's not. This is a Twilight Council build. Okay, well, maybe he's been switching it up. Obviously, if you want to compete at the highest level, especially as Protoss, you can't really be a one-trick pony. You can't really get away with playing the same build over and over and over again. But going into the Twilight Council... Can be Glaives, can be Blink, can be Charge, can be Dark Templar. I would imagine it's Quick Glaives, because that's what the majority of Protoss players go for nowadays. Robo? Yeah. So I'm assuming this is going to be Glaives, and we'll just see some Adepts across the map, nice and early. Curious. Now already, oh god, we had a bunch of Zerglings just running in. The wall-off was not quite completed, so this is a bit awkward. Shin just scouts everything for free.
Our forces are under attack.
Oh god. Shin's still playing with the diva announcer? Come on, Shin. Your forces are taking damage. Terrible, terrible damage. You're all out of minerals, but there's plenty of rocks. That is my most hated voice line in all of StarCraft 2. Yeah, that is even worse than the Loko announcer, which, by the way, everybody should be playing with. It is going to be Glaives, but now it's very delayed. Now it's... Yeah. I feel like this is now one of those rock, paper, scissors things where you have already thrown rock the last 6 times in a row and there's no way you're gonna do it a 7th time, right? And Shin is basically... All he needs to do is just make a few units. This is one of those attacks that falls flat on its face if Zerg is prepared for it. 38 workers is perfect. If Shin starts making units here as soon as the Roach Warren is done, which I think is what he's saving up for right now, he's going to be able to hold this. I mean, there's still a chance that Zerg messes this up, but this is the easiest situation to be in against Glaive Adept. It's absolutely critical when you open up with any sort of, well, off the beaten path type of build, right? So anything that is not a Stargate opener, it's critical that you don't get scouted. So just a bunch of Zerglings, slow Zerglings at that as well, just running in. I think they were slow. I don't think he had link speed yet. Anyways, it is a curious approach to playing this game. Now, we don't have a full wall off at the top of the ramp, and this creep tumor is a bit sketchy. But I've got a feeling, yeah, if you just have a couple roaches here at the front, run them away, have the Zerglings chase the Shades, this is the way to get the job done. Generally speaking, you want to have the roaches target firing down individual Adepts, And then the Zerglings chasing around the shades. And already we have Lings waiting in the main. There's no way he's gonna commit. Nah. Now, there can be a weird moment, because Protoss can obviously be making probes during all of this, which Classic is not right now. But there is a moment where Shin is just going to overcommit to base defenses, which would force him to go for a full-on counterattack, and that is something that can actually be helped. Like, for example, if you go into Immortal production like he is right now, that's doable, but you can also go into Dark Templar. If you just constantly shade forward like this, and Zerg just keeps making Zerglings, keep making Roaches, and you just never actually commit, and at some point you go home. Oh, God. Well, that's really bad. Oh, jeez. Oh, ugh. Get it off my screen. That was some of the sloppiest gaming I've seen in a long time. At this level of play, I mean, you're never going to be able to secure a Nexus now. That is, for all intents and purposes, game over. Now, obviously, it's still a worker advantage, and there is still always a way back, but this is really quite bad here for the Protoss, because how are you ever going to secure an expansion now? Shin managed to kill all of your Adepts, basically, for, well, relatively cheap. Interestingly enough, this small group of Adepts now that were warped in, they are dealing a lot more damage than the main army did. But that was a significant amount of supply down the drain, and it's not even the units so much, it's also the lost opportunity now, because it's very difficult for Protoss to take a third base without that army. So now that the army is gone, the only thing that Classic can really do is go for some sort of 2-base all-in, but this wasn't the original plan. So now we're gonna go for what seems to be an Immortal Sentry all-in, and half the units get surrounded! Oh, jeez! Oh, ugh! Look away, Protoss! If you're a Protoss player, look away from your monitor, because this is the worst way to start a finals. Now look, I don't want to be too mean, but that was bad. Everybody's allowed to make mistakes, and obviously the margin for error at top-level StarCraft 2 is extremely small, but Shin getting the jump on Classic not just once, but twice with his entire army? He was trying to inch around the site there to try and maybe secure the third Nexus eventually, but he was also going for 8 gateways on 2 bases. So Classic just trying to play middle of the road, I guess? Otherwise, there was really, like, if he didn't plan on taking a third, there was zero reason for him to move out of his base. Not so sure about that. And this is obviously one of the difficult things about StarCraft. Terran Zerg, similar too, but Protoss is very vulnerable early game. In general, obviously, Protoss doesn't have that many units. You just don't have that much stuff. It's very common for Protoss to take a third base off of like 3 units. So, yeah, if you lose your army, it's just not nearly as easy to replace and way more expensive than that of a Terran or that of a Zerg. Well, anyway, let's forget about that game. We're starting off this series with a 0-1 lead here for Shin. Let's see if somehow, some way, Classic can bring it back. Because if this is setting the tone for the rest of the games, I don't know if you're a Protoss player, you might just want to close your eyes whenever, you know, big moments happen, because it's gonna be painful. Nah, I'm sure Classic can recover from this. Classic has been a long-time pro gamer. He's been playing this game at a super high level for as long as I remember. So probably 2010 or so. He's been around ever since the early days, and well, I haven't seen him play too much as of late. I'm sure he's still got the skills. I mean, he made it to the finals. In order to make it to this finals, you have to take down some really good players along the way. And in this particular tournament, we had players like Rogue, we had players, well, like, for example, Shin, we had players like... We have a lot of good players, so he must have had at least a good opportunity. I think Dark also participated in this. It's mostly the Koreans that generally play in these cups. Mostly because of the time zone. Anyway, Oracle swoops in. This is a much more of a standard opener. 3 of those workers end up going down. Not the end of the world. And we're going to continue onwards with what seems to be a very normal beginning. Yeah. Okay, now this is obviously a large map. You can't really get away with some sort of adept aggression, so whether or not Classic feels comfortable playing macro, I don't know. But he should, because this is the best map for it, if he wants to play that more laid-back approach. And look, that is the go-to for most Protoss players right now. A lot of Protoss players are enjoying building up that death ball-y type of army. A lot of Zerg players are struggling against it right now. With a lot of Zerg players, I mean pretty much all Zerg players except Serral. Serral, for some reason, is still dismantling late-game Skytol, so you just look at it and you're like, okay, buddy, Listen, maybe you should stop winning so much, because you're just gonna get Zerg repeatedly nerfed over and over and over again. But everybody that's not, you know, Cold Cyril seems to be struggling against that late game Skytles army quite a bit. So let's see. Once more, this is Adepts, but it's a different group of Adepts, right? So this is a relatively normal style to play these days. I always like these. Like the 5 to 6 Adept, 4 to 6 Adept. To go for some aggression like this. Maybe shade into the main base. A bunch of drones would be real nice. They pretty much always get efficient trades. They're going to force out a bunch of Zergling production usually. And while this isn't the most successful attack of a lifetime, we did get a nice stasis ward off in the natural though. And no. I think actually you should have targeted some drones in the main base. If I have to be critical, I think there was no reason for him not to be targeting that a little bit better. Drones over at the third base also finding a bit of that trouble, and there is still an Oracle all the way in the top left. Now this is the most conventional follow-up for Classic. So triple Nexus, Oracles into Adepts, into a bunch of Blinky boys, plus 1 ground attacks coming up too. This is where Shin decides to go into a Spire. Now, the Spire is a risky choice, because obviously there's triple Oracle, and Revelation should be available across the board, but if Protoss doesn't see the Spire, it can be extremely difficult to deal with. 4th hatchery also coming up. The hatchery, by the way, that is, yeah, this is the 3rd over here, so the hatch that has the Spire on it is the 3rd. Shark Bro, what's up, dude? Sorry. I forgot to say hello to you. It's quite difficult to scout, right? Like, the natural is pretty easy to see. The main base, since there's still an Oracle stuck in a corner, also pretty easy to see. The 3rd is actually quite off the beaten path here. Classic is, however, going to still look around and, well, keep the Oracles close to the Zerglings. I believe that the Spire is going to go up completely unscouted. Okay, so, Storm on the back of this for Classic. Even though he is going up against what seems to be a Muta build, it's probably not going to be Mass Muta. Not a lot of players, other than like Dark, enjoy playing Mass Muta. So I'm assuming this will be like a big group of Mutas, maybe like 6, 7, 8 or so of them, and then straight back towards a ground-based army. But it's still going to force a bit of panic, and if you're not careful, you can actually lose the game. It's a big skill check for Protoss. Bit of crisis management. Hydro then. Getting a nice little speed upgrade. And it isn't just a group of Mutas and then a transition back towards something else. So the idea is to try and distract the Protoss. Either with the units over here at the front or with the Mutas in the natural expansion. And then either kill the 4th hatch, the 4th nexus, or a whole lot of workers in the mineral line. And this base is looking mighty juicy. Shin doesn't know it yet, but there is 0 protection right over here. Storm is, however, done. So if Classic positions his units in the right spot, he's going to be able to easy hold this. It's only 5 Mutas, though. 6. I can't count. I mean, I ran out of fingers on my left hand. Anyway, pretty slow reaction speed there by Classic, but lucky for him, it's only a handful of Mutalisks. Good micro, actually, on the Mutas. Slips them away. Okay. Phoenix production does begin. And Classic a little bit concerned for, like, mass Muta play, I suppose. Decides to go into a 2nd Stargate as well. So he's playing very passively. Seems to me like he is probably just going to make some Phoenixes and then transition towards Skytles. I mean, ultimately, he will need another base. But this one's pretty close by. And with 5 Nexa, you can quite easily make your way all the way towards that Skytles army. That's exactly what Shin now is trying to avoid. There's a fleet beacon coming up. This is a big commitment, though, here. Quite a lot of resources here for Classic, tied up in things that aren't going to be too helpful. Zerglings are actually killing a bunch of... Oh, God. They killed like 3 or 4 High Templar there. Still, Shin is committed to this push, and he's not really gone too far with it yet. He hasn't really dealt a lot of damage with it yet. Oh, God, that blink. Very curious little blink there around the corner. Loses like 4 or 5 Stalkers. Problem is, Shin only has 72 workers, so he really is trying to get this game over with fast. He wants to see if he can win this game soon. Very committed. And so far, he hasn't really achieved too much yet. More Stalkers blink awkwardly towards that low ground. I think this time around it's okay, but probably still need to be able to blink them back up. Okay. Lurker Den is coming, though. Shin decides to slither those units up through that choke point. An aggressive blink in that direction, and carrier production has begun. If Classic can afford it, I would love to see a Mothership here, too, because the Mothership is amazing at stopping this type of aggression. I think it's actually better than the carrier. Roaches swoop in. Go after the Nexus at the 4th base, and maybe finally Shin can get the job done, but no. Rather than targeting it all the way down, he decides to go into a hive of his own and for some lair tech lurkers. These are awkward lurkers, though. Not the best whatsoever. Army's still heavily in favor of Shin, and it has been for a long time. This is a re-wall here for Classic, so at the very least he's going to be able to get those units in. High Templar coming in clutch from the high ground too. Lair tech lurkers or not, they can still be used, and this is actually kind of cool. We rarely ever see lurkers getting played before Hive tech is done. Hive is coming up right now, but those lurkers are still just half upgraded. Carriers, though, are out, and there's just no anti-air here for Shin. What was looking like a pretty interesting push. Maybe these handful of units still in the mineral line. Can we pull the probes, please? Maybe they can get some work done and still justify all of these losses. Ultimately, we have a small worker advantage here for Zerg, but that was by no means an efficient trade there for Shin whatsoever. The main thing that he's lost now is time, so carriers are going to continuously be produced. Classic really needs to start spending his money more. Classic actually playing some relatively sloppy StarCraft here. We have an Oracle. Can we please use Revelation? There we go. These are not the best games I've seen Classic play so far. Okay, well, he's still okay. He's okay and he survived, and that's the most important part. It's just that he's lost a few more troops than he really needed to in quite sloppy ways. But ultimately the goal is to try and get that death ball going. The carrier production is underway. The Mothership is super powerful these days because it can no longer be abducted by a Viper. And since Shin is not really in a position to go into a Spire, I think it's an absolute no-brainer to go into the Mothership here. I mean, he has the Spire already, right? But like making a big round of Corruptors and getting the upgrades going, maybe even a second Spire to double upgrade and all that, it's just a bit tricky. Double Robo Facility right now as well on the back of all of this. Oh, he started up a Mothership for a second, canceled it, restarted it? I guess he wanted to start it maybe in a different base. I don't know why you would want to build it over here, though. Like, at the most vulnerable expansion? Okay. Well, it is about time for Shin to really start firing up those air upgrades, because in this particular instance, I just don't believe you're going to be able to win the game with Hydralisks. You could theoretically play Infestors with Microbial Shroud. I think that's decent against carriers by themselves. Yeah, maybe even better than decent. It's just that it's really terrible for High Templar. Sonic Storm is an absolute banger against this. Well, Classic is going to try and test the waters. Needs to be a little careful, though, because he's got a lot of supply caught up still in the production tab here. You already pay for that supply, obviously, but you don't yet have the units. Either way, 4 High Templar alone is also just not that much, man. Well, he does have a 6th base coming up at the bottom of the map. He has found a good angle over there too. Zealot run by. This is a very old school approach, honestly, from Classic. Most Protoss players these days, when they play this Skytles army, they don't actually max out on just Skytles units. They leave a lot of supply in the bank, so they can actually just add in a whole lot of Zealot run-bys and warp-ins on the other side of the map, maybe some Dark Templar, that sort of thing. Classic is just maxing out on stuff like just making one big death ball. You know what? This seems awfully effective. Corruptors right now, though, coming up. Where's the rest of the Protoss units? We still have a lot of units on the other side. Where's the Mothership? Oh, she's just hanging out over here. Oh, hello. You're kind of leaning. Oh, jeez. He was kind of leaning on the high ground there. Okay. Double air weapons, though, coming up. Shield upgrades. Also researching here for Classic. And ultimately, he does now have 6 bases up and going. He can make the ultimate Protoss Death Ball, and as a matter of fact, he's already there. I think the only thing really missing here is the Dark Templar. I think Dark Templar is a no-brainer. He's even killing his own Wait, was he killing? He's killing his own Stalkers to warp in more units? Now he's decided, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Send him in for a counterattack, and then he sends him back home. Alright, Classic. This series is not the best look for you so far. I think you're winning this game, but also, I don't think this is the greatest Classic I've ever seen. Where's the mothership? What? I think he wanted to go for like a full recall. In the meantime, we have Vipers abducting carriers. A couple more carriers lazily get rallied in as well. 21 drones, though, have gone down, and this is still a good bit of damage. More abductions, no feedbacks. Finally, we have a feedback coming up, but that was already 3 or so, maybe 4 carriers down the drain. This is a little painful for me to watch, but also, Classic is actually winning the game. Obviously, the issue here that Shin is running into is that he lost quite a lot of stuff early on. He never really got the reliable kill on that 4th Nexus, and he was very committed to trying to prevent the game from going in this distance. So he never actually had a lot of workers, so he can't really make an easy transition here into like mass Spore Crawler or anything along those lines. Mothership just lazily rallied in again from the site. That now means that all of these units are left by themselves. Archon's within range of all of the lurkers as well, and that now means that there's 0 support for all of those carriers. What a throw. This was not Shin's game. What was that? Look, I don't want to be too critical. I don't want to be that much of a jerk. But that was not just one fight that went poorly. That was an entire sequence of events that just came crumbling down. And honestly, I still think he did not yet need to leave that game. Like, yeah, Shin was establishing an advantage there, but also Classic had just killed like 20-something drones. Shin's economy was not that good. I think the game was, if anything, probably evened up. Maybe a slight advantage for Shin at that point in the game, but honestly, nothing amazing. It's not like he had a ton of army coming across. He was mostly broke. He didn't have a ton of, well, bases in the top right-hand corner. Maybe Classic assumed that there were a lot more bases in the top right, but I wouldn't even be surprised. I don't really know exactly what the state of the game was, but I wouldn't even be surprised if Classic actually left while having more supply than the opponent. Anyway, that was not it. Stargate opener once more by Classic. Donates an adept on the other side of the map. Oh no. I think we may be witnessing a like a complete mental block here for Protoss. Ugh. This is like watching a train wreck or a car crash. I can't look away. I have to continue watching. I need to see how this ends now, but also I'm a little bit afraid for the current setup. Alright, well, the Oracle micro has been good. Let's see. Finds the drone as it was just showing up. That's nice. Kills a larva. Okay. Cancels the pulsar beam. We're going back home. Fair enough. Maybe Classic can repack himself, though. So Classic has won many tournaments over the years. He's a very successful pro gamer on the whole. Oracle swoops in again. Queen's out of position. Misclick. Oh no. Careful. Ooh. Sarah would have killed that Oracle, dude. Maybe this one? Yeah. Ling run by now on the other side of the map. Luckily, there are still a lot of adepts here available, too. This is also not going well, guys. 6 drones for an Oracle and an adept is actually not worth it. He could have very easily lost both of the Oracles, so at least he saved one of them. But he got a little over-eager during that aggression. I mean, it is delicate, right? Like, if you deal no damage, it's a problem. If you deal, well, too much damage to your own units like that, you are also in trouble. So it is definitely a balancing act. Get some revelations in. Okay. I wonder what Shin is making of this so far. Because Shin was desperately trying to end the game before it ever laid eggs. And then the game laid eggs in the previous match. And then Classic just sort of died. Revelations over here at the front. Clearing out some of the creep tumors. Not bad at all. Banelingness coming up though for Shin. So he's mixing it up a bit. He's decided to go into the +1 melee right now together with a lair. And then also the Baneling Nest. I'm assuming it's going to be Hydra Ling Bane. A very viable unit composition, but it also means that Shin is skipping a Roach Warren for now. Meaning that he obviously will not have all too much stuff here at his disposal. If it would be some sort of aggression, but Classic not going for any sort of follow-up here that is going to be hyper-aggressive, it seems. Couple of force fields. Apparently, this army got caught off guard. No sentries lost, though. That's good. There's indeed the Hydra, then. There's once more the Templar Archives as well. So, it looks to me like we are going to go into Storm. So, rather than mute us, we'll have a transition towards Hydralisks with Baneling speed here instead. Come on. Classic, we have so much money. Classic! Ay, ay, ay. Classic! What? Whew. 600 minerals, 600 gas. We finally go for it. Stalkers in the meantime, in the middle of the map, get surrounded out of nowhere. Another panicked recall, but a very slow one at that too. Yeah, Shin is just too fast and too nimble here. Like, he's leading by more than 200 APM. Now, APM is not a measure of skill on the whole. But it certainly is an indication of speed and... This hurts. I want to see an even match, dude. But... ay, 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 ay. This is not it. All right, well, we did arrive at 4 Nexus here eventually, but this is so painful. 14 probes have gone down. To what? Just a little group of Zerglings that didn't even get sent across the map to be that committed? Just a scouting pack to maybe, like, pick off some freebies and... All right, well, here come the Hydras. Maybe we can lend some good storms here. At the very least, Psy Storm is done, but there's no protection over here. No shield batteries, no nothing. A lot of Zerglings still going across the map. Shin still... Oh, the Banelings came around the back as well, and he kills all of the High Templar. Get out of this game, Classic. This is not it. He leaves without a GG. Oh, no. I have not seen a series this one-sided in a long time at this point. At least not a best of 7, a best of 5+. Generally, at this, like, day and age, or in this day and age, the matches are very close. We see a lot of very close competition between the cream of the crop, and I think it is fair to put Classic amongst them, but he's certainly not feeling it so far in these games. I'm a little afraid right now for a 4-0. Shin decides to now go quickly into what seems to be the gold base here. All neon violet. He wanted to. No. He's gonna turn around. Although the probe scout is eventually gonna get sent back. Yeah, we are still just gonna go for the gold base. What are Classic's total tournament earnings at? Yeah, nearly $600,000. So he's won his fair share of cups. He's won his fair share of tournaments. The truth be told, a lot of that has been quite a few years ago at this point in time, but so far it does not quite seem that Classic can keep up with Shin. Maybe this is the beginning of a reverse sweep. Maybe this can be the beginning of something. But this is certainly Shin saying, yo, buddy, all those passive games that you're playing early on, like, this is him saying, come and fight me. If you want to come and you know, head on over to my side of the map, that would be wonderful. Because if you don't, I'm going to be able to run away with a massive advantage. Classic is starting this off now by going into a Void Ray first and then an Oracle. Nothing all too weird. But this is one of those things where you can't be playing your normal pre-planned early game. So if Classic just wanted to go into Blinky Boys, which may just be the answer, he's going to go for a quick third Nexus in the back. I think he's going to let the Zerg player just sit on the gold. Now, that's very risky. So there was a drone transfer to bring some drones in this direction. That is exactly why we see that peak over here as far as the income advantage goes. But as time goes on, Shin is going to be able to gobble up some nice golden minerals, and for the next few minutes, he'll have a significant boost in that department. So Classic is not responding to it at all. He's just going into Blink, and I guess eventually +1, although that Forge is late. Robo facility, I guess? No extra gateways for now? I mean, what exactly is the plan? We need to address this. We can't really let him sit on gold. Well, there's the Lair coming up. Roach Warren for safety. Void Ray here at the front. It did snipe a Creep Tumor, so that's something. Where's that Oracle, by the way? Oracle now swoops in as well. It has a bunch of energy, but good defense so far by Shin, who is going to lose an Overlord. 5 kills actually on this Void Ray right now in total. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Please don't lose that Void Ray to a freaking... Okay, alright, alright. I thought we went AFK for a minute. He did lose the Oracle? No way, he lost the Oracle! I don't think the Oracle ever actually activated Pulsar Beam. Like, yeah, I don't think it ever attacked a single time. Here's the Templar archives. So we're basically just doing the exact same thing as he's been doing in every game so far, except this is not the best execution. Now, I really like the Overlord kills. The fact that Shin lost that many Overlords is actually very painful. That Void Ray has been worth its weight in gold, carrying the game so far. Classic is just gonna go for a 4th. No way. He's saying, yo, buddy, you have your gold base? Looks good. Looks nice. I'll be sitting in my corner. You know where to find me. Yeah, he just wants to go Skytools again. So we have the High Templar. I mean, eventually, right? We're not going into Skytools anytime soon, but this is basically Classic saying, yo, we're just hanging out. We're just having a good time here playing SimCity. Shin now scouts it. What exactly is the answer here, Shin? So, Shin has been fully anticipating some sort of attack from Classic. And I think he's also sitting here wondering what in the world is happening. He is now the one who is thinking about being aggressive, which, I mean, he's got an awful lot of units, don't get me wrong. He's had a nice income boost there for a little while, but he also stopped making drones at 54 because he was max, right? Like, he couldn't really do much more with it. Since the Void Ray was still going around, he couldn't really easily make a 4th hatch other than maybe in the corner over here. He's now building one over here in the middle, but he is going to commit to a full-on attack. And this is a nicely turtled up position. There's a little bit of a welcoming committee here of photon cannons as well. Good storm. Massive supply deficit, though, for Classic. But he's got an income advantage now, I believe, with the amount of workers that he's got. Yeah, a small one, but it still counts. That's what she said. Anyways. Roach Hydra just getting stormed to death. Immortals here in a good position. Okay, Classic. We're getting some work done. In the meantime, over here at the front, be nice to have an Oracle here. Maybe some Stasis Wards would be phenomenal. Another Stormy here would also be nice. Oracle has gone down. The Void Ray is still around. What are you doing over here, bud? Okay, let's not look at the Void Ray. Why do we not, like... He's getting some really good traits over here, though. It has been killing some links. It has killed 5 Overlords as well. It does have 11 confirmed kills, so maybe it's not that bad. A couple of the units over here get surrounded. Aggressive blink forward, though. Shin is still rallying more and more troops across the map, but his economy is really not that big. In a very strange way right now, it is Classic Zerging the Zerg. Like, he's the one who can take relatively inefficient traits. He's taking phenomenal ones, though, here in the end, if you look at the resources lost. Yeah, this did not go well for Shin at all. He decides to tap out. Okay, maybe we've got the beginning of something. Now, even though that resulted in a Protoss win, it did not fill me with confidence. I think that was more or less just Shin sort of playing himself. He was like, come and play in my gold-based playground. And then Classic was like, LOL, no. How about I just don't? And then Shin was like, but I brought toys. And then he tried to play on the other side of the map and it didn't really work. Okay, what about this then? Yeah, sure, that works. We built the playground on the other side of the map. How nice is that? If you don't want to come and play on my side of the map, I'll just build it on your side of the map. How fun. Now, I actually quite like this response. Pylon to block the natural expansion. Although, it is a little risky. Generally, you have some minerals left over anyway. This is an extremely quick proxy hatch. This is a major skill check, though. And I like the idea here for Shin. So, across the board, proxy hatcheries are bad. They're actually not that good. If Protoss responds properly, you're pretty much always ahead as Protoss. However, and that's the real kicker, you do have to respond properly. And it's not that easy to do. This goes for most cheeses in StarCraft 2. Pretty much all of them are pretty bad. However, if you respond perfectly... Well, if you respond perfectly, that is, you can be at an advantage. Double Zealot is a curious one. He really wants to be building the natural expansion, and there is ultimately going to be a drone up here. Oh my god, Classic just got played. The drone pretended to go over here, looped back around, probe cancelled the pylon. Yeah, this is just to be a jerk. So this is a major jerk check right here for Classic. Queen is coming up too. I find that very ambitious. Can we move one of the probes, please? Thank you. Yeah, Queen is never going to finish. But at the very least... Don't lose the pylon, don't lose the pylon, don't lose... No, he's not going to lose the pylon. Shin just targeted that so confidently that I thought for a second it was still going to be manageable. There's still some larva, by the way. Not a quick roach warren. Yeah, so this is one of the issues now that Classic is running into, right? So technically this is an advantage for him, but you also are now building a nexus out in the open in the middle of nowhere. You've been constructing this wall off, but this wall off does you no good. Zerglings are gonna come up. I think this is a really nice strategy to go for as Zerg when you feel very confident about your opponent. Maybe that's why we see Dark going for these cheeses all the time. I don't think he actually believes he's much better than the opponents he's going up against, but it is just one of those things where if you play sloppy, if you make any mistakes, you're just in a world of trouble. Shield battery is not gonna live, I don't think. Link speed is, by the way, coming up. No, it is gonna stay alive for now. There's a lot of links, though. Adept production coming up, too. It's gonna be a Twilight Council. No Oracle? I mean, Classic did not have enough gas. He's not mining out of the second assimilator here for some reason. There is still an Adept over there in that wall off. Why are we not mining from the second gas geyser? I guess he originally wanted to go into some Stargate play, but now he's losing the Zealots at the front. At least the Adept over here is still available, but not on hold position. Probe on the back of it, also not on hold position. Adept over here behind all of it, also not in the right spot. And that now means that the floodgates have been opened. The pylon is gonna get shut down. Probes forced away from the main base mineral line to try and help out in this base defense. GG gets cold, and it is indeed Shin who obtains the victory in this, well, rather painful best of 7. One more? It's like a palate cleanser. One more. That series left a sour taste in my mouth. Ugh, that is not what I expected at all. I thought we were going to get some nice competitive games, but that was surprisingly one-sided. Now, spotting right here. In this best of 3 series, playing with the red Zerg drones, we're looking at none other than Shin. Once again, I figured it was appropriate. His opponent, though, in the top right, playing with the blue Zerg pieces, we're looking at Rogue's Main Hatchery. This is from a different tournament, so I don't really know exactly who ended up winning this one, but we're gonna find out together. This is like, you know, I'm that parent who's like mashing broccoli, just trying to get you to eat your veggies, trying to get you to watch your mirror matchups. Yeah, we'll watch a little bit. After the demotivation of the previous series. I basically starved you for high-level StarCraft, okay? Now you must be enjoying your broccoli as well. That's the plan. All right, hatchery first for both players. We've got a gas geyser on the back of this. Good. Spawning pools across the board. Good. Shin, hello? Okay, we do have to go into that one. ZVZ is very tricky. ZVZ is a very complex matchup, extremely aggressive. Main reason, of course, is that the units are super quick. And they, generally speaking, deal about 10 times as much damage than they have for hit points. So everything is a glass cannon. Everything can technically, well, end the game. And there's a lot of ways in which the games do, well, end even at the highest level, right? Within like a few minutes alone. Where are we going, Rogue? What are we doing? Sorry, what is this? I thought he wanted to go for a super quick third? I'm not so sure what to make of this, if I'm being honest with you. Where are we going to be sending this drone? Okay. What? Sorry, what? What are we even trying to hide? What are we trying to even... There's nothing to be gained from that. I guess he wants to go for a Link Flood. And without a third hatch, you can't go for a Link Flood. And it's very common in the current meta of ZVZ to play 2-base. So maybe if this doesn't get scouted, or rather if Shin sees that the opponent doesn't have a third hatch, he's going to assume that it's not possible to go for a Link Flood. So an Overlord has seen that there's no drone gone in that direction, and these Lings are now going to check out that there is no drone that moved down south either, so now this has to be built as a 2-base opener. Roke is going to go for a full wall-off over here too. I think these might be fake. This is really odd. Do we go Queen over here? I mean, it's 175 minerals. It's a bit expensive. Yeah, he's hiding a Baneling Nest. It is a Link Flood. This is truly one of the builds of all time. Very strange. So he's just using this hatchery for larva generation. Now, interestingly enough, Shin is thinking that he can bust this front door. He has seen something. Oh, this is weird. Shin is the one all-inning, even though Roke is the one who is going for a cheese. Banelings can be morphed in. The link speed, obviously, he's assuming here that link speed was denied altogether. He's gonna put multiple layers to his wall off. That's why this drone is waiting here. We're gonna probably see another Evo. Yeah. In the meantime, lings are being made as well all the way up north. This is so cursed. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's okay, though. There are lings waiting behind. 3 queens here at the front as well, just to really sell the 2-base story. Baneling Nest, by the way, now coming up here for Shin. Couple of... Why did these Zerglings hide here? Shin saw it on the minimap immediately. Okay, yeah, that was weird, Rogue. Why did we first decide to show those links to the Overlord? So we're going proxy Banelings. The plan was to go proxy Banelings. I don't think I've ever seen proxy Banes before. At least not at minute 3. Well, ultimately now we're 4.5 minutes into this. And this expansion all the way in the top left-hand corner gets found. I don't even really know if it's Shin's time, like if it's worth Shin's time. We are casting some... We're looking at some weird StarCraft today. Yeah, this is... This is train wreck after train wreck after train wreck. And Shin is the one who's the conductor, I guess. No, wait, he's the one who gets to show up and fan the flames. Well, this is still certainly winnable, though, for Rogue. He just needs to get one good Baneling hit. Problem is, now the opponent also has got Banelings. Yeah, I don't generally miss player cameras. But I feel like this is one of those situations where I would love to have player cameras on to see what Shin's reaction is to all of these weird setups. What in the world is even happening here? Well, ultimately, this is a dance with death. Lingbane versus Lingbane. GLHF, some big explosions across the board. It takes 2 Banelings to kill your opponent's Banelings too. Obviously, only 1 Baneling to kill your opponent's Zerglings. 3 Banelings to kill Banelings that are being morphed in. When they're spread out like that, though, you can't really get good value. One of the Banes is starting to slip. Queen actually ends up going down. And despite everything being spotted, drones are trying their best to see if they can stay alive, although they just continue mining. Not even bothering turning around and fighting there. And I guess it wasn't indeed the right call for Shin. Proxy hatch up north, by the way, still alive. Still being used to, well, send more and more units in. The problem is, these traits have been pretty good for Rogue, but at the same time, Shin has been 7 workers ahead this entire time. So, Rogue is making the same units, but off of a smaller economy. And while he is getting good traits, and obviously he's the one on the other side of the map and all that, it's not really working out for him. Like, this is starting to fizzle out. Every minute that goes on, there's 300 or so minerals coming in more for Shin. And 300 minerals is a substantial amount of links. Queen's obviously now also very useful here in the base defense, even though some of them may have taken a lot of damage, or one of them I think even died. Yeah. This just doesn't have a lot of staying power. GG. Well done. Now we find ourselves on Amygdala. This is a very strange StarCraft day, huh? I have already seen hundreds of matches of StarCraft in 2025. These games, they are ranked amongst the absolute strangest. Ultimately, though, it's Shin who's just, getting away with everything. It's kind of funny because Shin, over the last few months, has been playing some very aggressive StarCraft. Every once in a while, when Shin wakes up in the morning, he's like, I'm gonna cheese every single one of my games. And he plays a tournament, and he's just cheesing and cheesing and cheesing and cheesing, to the point where he even puts Dark to shame. Interestingly enough, this is really the first time. I guess we had a proxy hatch as well. Yeah, maybe not the first time, but yeah, he's now the one being the aggressor here. That has not been his general goal, though. He's thinking, yo, maybe I can just win this match in like, I don't know, a 10-minute fashion. See if we can win the entire best of 3 here in under 10 minutes. I'm gonna go for some hyper-aggression. Well, this is a quick spawning pool, but an expansion on the back of it too. So not 100% committed, but still something that needs to be justified. So it lined up over here with the 3rd larva finishing up. Let's see. Rogue in the meantime, just opening up very normal. So a much later spawning pool for him. The map is big though. Amygdala or Amygdala. It's large. So how do we go around the map and show up on the other side in time and really justify a Ling opener like this? I don't know if I like it. He's gonna get spotted too. Rogue's like, hey buddy. What's that you got there? Amygdala is a weird map to do this on because it's a map with only 2 attack paths. So most StarCraft maps have at least 3. Amygdala only has 2 paths. Unless like the rocks are down. Ooh, he catches a bunch of the Zerglings, that's cute. But I don't think this is the best choice on Amygdala. Now Rogue in the meantime, by the way, cooking up his own cheese as well. Rogue was going for a different flavor of cheese, but cheese nonetheless. He is rushing out +1 melee. The only reason why you would ever be building +1 melee this early before a Baneling Nest or anything like that is if you want to go for a Ling all-in as soon as +1 melee finishes up. This is +1 before Ling speed. So we will probably see a Baneling Nest here before too long. But this is going to be a very low worker count for Rogue, and one where he's planning on just rushing Lings across. Obviously with +1 melee, Zerglings will still die to a single Baneling hit. But Shin's been, he's been on a high so far, so I'm guessing he may even think about playing 2 base, or maybe skipping the Baneling Nest, or even skipping Ling speed, although he did start it up just now. I wouldn't even be too surprised if he ended up canceling it. Yeah, he's gonna go for a 2 base opener here, so maybe a Roach Warren eventually will come up. We probably want to see a Baneling Nest here as well for Rogue. He will likely figure out the amount of Lings he needs to be producing very soon. I mean, I'm a little... What? Oh, he's just giving up on this. Really? So he is giving up on this already because he believed that his opponent was going to play triple hedge. I think Rogue has probably practiced this a bunch and he realized, okay, if my opponent is opening up 2 hedge, which is not really something Shin does too much, but if he's opening up 2 hedge, it is not worth my time to bust +1 melee lings in there because it's risky. So I think he could. I actually believe... Oh, Shin is now the one going +1 melee too, which there's a lot of reverse mind games going on, man. +1 melee coming up here for Shin. Yeah, I think actually if Rogue just decided to commit to Zerglings, this is one of those scenarios where his all-in would have worked out wonderfully. He's still going to test the waters because he's got all of those Zerglings, so he may as well. And... I mean, it's going to be nearly impossible for Shin to ever take another expansion here until those lings are out in both players. Dude, these are some of the dumbest games of StarCraft. They end up taking very different roads, but all the roads do align. They all intersect at the Spire tech at the exact same moment. Lings, by the way, that were being a nuisance in the top corner of the map earlier, those were the ones with the run by. They just now got sniped. We are watching some of the craziest StarCraft in a while. None of these games really make a lot of sense. +1 melee is already done, though, and this is something that Shin will have picked up on, I'm sure. You always want to be clicking your opponent here. Rogue also does see that there is a Spire building for him. Now, when you are going Spire and you see your opponent going Spire, you can still play Mutas, or you can play Corruptor. Corruptor is even weirder. But if you believe that your opponent is going Mutas, and you know that you have not been spotted yourself, Corruptors can actually catch the opponent off guard if you just make a round of them. Because like 5 Corruptors are going to trash Mutas. I mean, unless you have a lot of Mutas, but early on you're not going to be able to get that many. Ultimately, we now arrive in a situation where both players have +1 melee Zerglings, and both players are just now starting to take third bases. I mean, we have a third base over here, but this one's not really mining. Rogue is adding on a couple of drones. Mutas are indeed coming up. The Spire was not cancelled. The Spire was not cancelled on Rogue's side of the map either, though. He's just going to commit to Zergling, so he believes that maybe by flooding lings across the map, he can make it difficult for his opponent with some good queen control here by Shin. Mutas are out. Rogue cannot really be making Mutas from behind, though, can he? Oh my god, he does! Really? He's still going to smash his piggy bank and go Mutas of his own? That's so awkward. Yeah, that's the plan. Lings in the meantime on the other side of the map, but there's already a bunch of units waiting here as well for Shin. Shin is just taking this third hatchery right now for the gas production. Oh no, one Muta getting misrallied. GG. What a day of StarCraft. I don't think this series really redeemed it, huh?